Okay, hi, how are you? I'm so glad to see all these people. I'm kind of a little nervous. I didn't expect that many folks. I expected, I don't know, 60 or 70 or something. There's almost 300. So thank you very much for coming. My name is Della Adams. Um, I am 64 years old. And so what I like to do today is just tell you a little bit about my fitness journey and how I got to be a senior planet sponsored athlete. It didn't happen overnight. It actually started over 12 years ago. At that time, I was 52 years old and was not I was clinically obese. I was 215 pounds, but I'm only 5'1". I'm very short, so that was very heavy. I had a myriad of chronic diseases. I'm type 2 diabetic. I've been that for a long time. I had arthritis. I had high cholesterol. So I'm taking a multitude of medications. And sort of the turning point for me, sort of my wake up moment, was during one of my doctor's exams. I have to go to the doctor quarterly because I've got all these illnesses. Uh, she said, none of your medications are working. So what I want to do is order you an insulin pump. You wear it on your abdomen and it checks your blood glucose and it'll shoot insulin. And I thought about it. My mother, unfortunately, died from complications of diabetes. And I thought, wow, I am worse than her at the same age, 52. So what does this mean for me? I've done everything. I've done all the diets. I did try to exercise. We have a park across the street with a half a mile trail. My husband and I, we would go and we would walk that trail once. That's all I could do was just one time around before I was worn out. I bought an elliptical machine and I would do that for 30 minutes or 45 minutes every other day. And I didn't eat badly. So it wasn't like I wasn't trying. It was just that nothing I did was working. And I just kept getting bigger and kept getting sicker. Um, Literally, I could not make it up a half a flight of stairs before running out of breath, and I had to stop and I catch my breath. And my husband got really, really worried about it. But anyway, long story short, my son, who was really an athlete, talked me into joining a CrossFit gym. I don't know how many folks know what CrossFit is, but if you go Google it, and you will see these amazing athletes with amazing bodies, and they're all young. They're not eating something, and they're doing all kinds of incredible things with their bodies. And I thought, I told my son, I said, "Are you trying to kill me or something? I can't do that." But I thought about my doctor and what I told her that I was going to do something radical. So I said, okay. So I visited a gym and with my husband, and we tried to do one beginner's workout. I didn't go back for 2 weeks. I was so sore. I had never experienced anything like that in my life. But for some crazy reason, I kept going back. Well, I never really got very good at the high intensity stuff. So in a CrossFit class, you always start off with a strength session, some sort of weightlifting thing. Okay. And then you go into what is called a Metcon. And a Metcon is a high intensity interval training. Well, I wasn't very good at that. And I also wasn't very good at weightlifting. And to give you some perspective, the female barbell weighs 35 pounds. The male barbell, it's a bigger grip, weighs 45 pounds. I literally could not lift that 35-pound bar to the rack. The coaches had to do it for me if I needed to do something on a weight rack. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do a single sit up. I couldn't do any push ups at all. That was completely out of the question. So, what I'm trying to say here is even though I was in that kind of bad shape, the beauty of weight training and even CrossFit, the high intensity stuff, it meets you where you are. And I was intimidated. I felt bad. I looked at all these young people and they're doing all these things. But here's the thing, when you start doing this, you take this journey, you're not in any kind of competition. with anybody else. Who you're competing with is yourself, you versus you yesterday. And as long as you're making progress, as long as you are putting that effort in, you will see results. And so the result of all of that was today, I lift very heavy. But it took 12 years. So it wasn't like it was overnight, right? But from that experience, I learned the most important thing. It's really not about how heavy you lift or anything like that. It's about technique and form. So what I want to share with you today is I'm going to show a video. It's a very short video. It's about 3.5 minutes or so. And it's taken of me in the gym with some pretty light weights to go through 5 different movements. And they are overhead press, back squat, deadlift, bench press, and arm curls. Now, if you love the gym and you're not intimidated by the gym and you have access to all of that equipment, that is fantastic. But what we're also going to do, and this is where you can come and do this with me. I'm going to set up my bench back there. I've got a bunch of different weights and dumbbells, and we're going to do those same movements, but for an at-home version. And I really, really do encourage you to try it with me, and I'll show you different scaling so that regardless of where you are in your fitness, you can do something. Also, too, you don't have to buy equipment. Here's 2 water bottles. These are 1 pound each. You could use that. You just want to make sure they're the same weight, right? If you're going to do something. Also, canned goods are really, really good to use to start off with, especially for things like flat raises and things like that. You want to go light. All right. So what I'm going to do is share my screen and play a video. It doesn't have sound, but I'm going to talk through those movements, and I may stop the video sometimes to explain something. And then make sure you put your questions in the chat, especially if you're interested in the gym version of it. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to play this video. All right, so this one right here is the overhead press. And I'm going to stop right here, okay? So if you notice, my feet are about shoulder width apart. And when I unrack the bar, I put it on my shoulder and my elbows are up very, very high, okay? So what you don't want to do is have that bar on your collarbone because it's going to hurt, especially if you get heavy. And with any movement, you want to keep your core really tight. And the way you do that is you squeeze your glutes, you take a breath in and hold your stomach tight. Because when you get loose in the body like that, that is when you start to engage your back, and that is when you can hurt yourself. But if you keep those things in mind, squeeze your glutes, tighten your abs, then you're not going to engage your back, okay? So if you notice, I'm going to go all the way up, come all the way down. You always want to do a full range of motion, and it's a very controlled. I'm not swinging it up. I'm not swinging it down. You want it to be controlled, okay? And so I'm going to rack that one. Now this is the back squat. So I'm going to stop it right here for a second. All right. So here's the thing. Just like I didn't want to have the bar on my collarbone when it was in the front rack position, I don't want to have the bar on my neck, okay, in the back squat position, the bar behind the back. So if you notice, I have scrunched my shoulders up, all right? And the bar is resting on the scalps in my shoulder and not my neck. So the same thing here. You want to squeeze your glutes, tighten your abs. Now, when I go down, and you'll see it, when I go down, what I'm doing, I'm not using my back. I'm going to use my feet which are planted shoulder width apart, and I'm going to spread the floor with my feet, and they're flat. I'm not going to come up on my toes. I'm not going to come up on my heels. but they're flat. And what happens is then you are using your glutes and your hamstrings and your quads when you go down and up and not your back. And that's one of the biggest fear that people have about weightlifting is that, oh, I'm going to hurt myself. But if you can remember those things, and we'll do that with the dumbbells as well. So this is the back squat. And you notice how far low I get, but you only want to go as far low as far as it feels comfortable. You never want to go further where you start to feel it in your back. And you see my legs, my knees are going out a little bit. They're not going to come together. When your knees come together, that's when your back is there. So same thing with the deadlift. I'm going to stop it right here. All right. In a deadlift, it's kind of the same thing. My back is completely straight, just like it was for the back squat, right? And I'm over the bar. I'm not, my hands gripping the bar is not actually pulling the bar up. That's not what I'm doing. It looks like that, but that's not what it is. What it is, the hands are just simply to guide the bar up your legs. They're not pulling the bar. What is getting the bar up is my feet that are planted flat, shoulder width apart, and I'm going to drive it into the ground and spread that floor. That engages the glutes, the quads, and the hamstrings, and that is what brings the bar up, never engaging the back. Again, slow. You want to hip thrust at the top. Controlled movements. All right, so this is the bench press. So we did some leg stuff. We did some overhead things with the arms. And this one is really good for actually your back. And I'm going to stop this for a little bit to talk about that. Right before I racked it off, I actually took my feet and I pushed it off the floor and lifted my, I did a little arch in my back. What I also did was take my shoulder and roll it back a little bit. So I have a slight arch. You see my stomach is kind of up, right? Slight arch. Again, the purpose of that is so that you don't use your back for any kind of strength. What you're using actually, obviously, are your chest muscles, your arm muscles, but also your upper back, your lats. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I want you to notice that my elbows are not flailing out. They're close to my body. Okay, so they're going straight up, full range of motion, bring it all the way to the chest, and then straight up. And I'm going to do another bench press here just to show you how close my elbows are to the side of my body and not out. Okay, so this last one is a curl. So if you want some really good arms, a lot of arm strength. Now I will tell you, a couple of years ago, I was doing some sprinting. This was during the pandemic, and I was sprinting out on the street because the track was closed. And for some reason, I don't know why, maybe I didn't warm up well enough or something, I got a sprain, pull in my hamstrings. And I literally went up in the air and came down on the concrete. And it was terrible. But I actually caught myself with my left arm, because if I hadn't been able to catch myself, I would have face planted, probably knocked all my teeth out and messed up my face or something. But when people fall, I mean, that's the biggest fear, is falling, right? For us as we age, we have to be able to catch ourselves, to get up off the ground and that sort of thing. So you need arm strength. You need leg strength, but you also need arm strength. And so this is a curl to build those biceps up. And if you notice, I've got a full range of motion. Now, this is a cable machine that I've put down the bottom and put some weights on it, and I'm doing a curl. But notice, I am not swinging my hips to get momentum. Again, your feet are shoulder width apart. I'm perfectly still. I have tightened my glutes, okay, and tightened my abs. Those are the things you have to remember. Tighten your glutes, tighten your abs. As long as you do those two things, you're not going to get hurt unless you put way too much weight on it and it's too much for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing, and if anybody has any questions or anything, I'll be happy to take them right now about the gym version, because I'm going to do the other version. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, Francisca, FM. Okay, my question is for the gluten and the abdominal tightness. I know for the breathing exercise that you blow your stomach and bring it in. But doing it like that, for that, how I can keep breathing in and out, so you have to blow your abdominal to deep breathe.
So what you do it in between your reps. So for example, on the back squat, and when I'm at the top, I'm holding the bar. That is when I call it get my body organized. I'm going to squeeze my glutes. I'm going to take a breath in and push my stomach out to make it like a big solid core. I am not going to breathe until after I finish going down and coming back up. You want to hold that breath. If you start breathing on the way down or on the way up, your body is no longer organized into that tight position. And that is when you're going to engage your back. And then that's the danger part. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to step back here and put this bench back and show you a couple of things. So I've got a bench and some dumbbells and that sort of thing. Can you all hear me okay? I've got a mic on.
Yeah, we can hear you.
But like I said, you can do your cans or your water bottles or something. So the first thing we're going to do is that overhead press. Now I'm going to use some 15-pound dumbbells, but you can use whatever you want to. And if you want to join me, that'll be really great. So I'm just going to do is bring it up like this. And again, I'm going to squeeze my glutes. I'm going to tighten my abs, all right? And I'm not going to bounce or anything like that. This is called a strict overhead press. I'm just going to bring it up, all the way up. Control down, control up, control down. You never want to, get out of like that. And we're just going to do 6 of these. Okay, so it's the same as with the barbell, except with the barbell, I have my arms up like this because I want it on my shoulder. I don't want it across this bone right here, clavicle, right? Because that's going to hurt. All right, so the next thing is what? Oh, back squat. All right, we can do several things. We can either use this up here and squat, or we can hold it like this one, and squat. Or instead of squatting to the ground, some people are not able to do that. So what you may want to do is just squat to a bench or squat to a chair. You don't have to have a bench. So it's the same thing, right? I'm going to have my feet shoulder width apart and squeeze my glutes. And then when I go down, I want to show you this. I'm not doing this, right? Now I've engaged my back. And I'm not doing this. Now I've engaged my back. So what I'm going to do is hinge at the hip, all right? So, and then squeeze my knees out like that. See that? So this is from the front. Good. Out here. And I'm pushing the ground away. So is anybody following along?
I'd like to know
I'd
like to know what do you do if you have bad knees and you cannot squat? What's the modification?
I'm sorry, what?
If you have bad knees and you cannot squat, what is the modification on this?
Do it to a chair. So also, you don't have to use the weights. You can do what is called an air squat, all right? So now you have no weights, and then you're gonna do it to a chair. Same thing, but except with the air squat, what you're gonna do is throw your arm out, all right? So here, see that? And the crazy thing about weightlifting is when you have pain, like I said, I had arthritis, right? And logically, you would think that if you do weight training and you have some kind of pain, that it's going to make it worse. Actually, that's not what happened. It got better. And you know why it got better? Your muscles are what holds together your bone structure. So the stronger your muscles are, the better it's able to hold your bones together. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's just do some squats.
Yes, it does.
Okay. Controlled movements. Okay. So what was the next thing? Let me see. Let's see, back squat. Oh, deadlifts. Okay, deadlifts are a little funny at home because you don't have the barbell and the bumpers. So you're not going to be able to go all the way to the ground. So what you're really doing is something called a Romanian deadlift. Okay? And I'm just going to use a couple of dumbbells here. Same thing. Shoulder width apart. Squeeze your glutes. Get your abs tight. Right? I'm going to put it in front of me. And I'm not going to take this all the way to the ground because, like I said, I don't have the barbell, right? So I'm just going to go and go to the side so you can see. Just here, mid-calf, okay? And when you come up, make sure you put that little hip thrust there. See how straight my back is, though? It's like a lever going up and down. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, what does the little hip thrust do?
So you want to maximize, right, your movement. And what that hip thrust does is it really concentrates squeezing your butt. Now, I have a wide hips run in my family. And so if you want that tall, high hip, right, small, that helps with that. It's the same thing when we do curls, and I'll show you how you will hold it at the top and twist up. It concentrates it on that muscle. Because remember, a deadlift or a squat is working your glutes and hamstrings. So anything that you can do to maximize that is a good thing. All right.
I have a question about the breathing. I'm trying to get the breathing down right.
Okay. What's the question?
Well, I know there's an inhalation and an exhalation. I'm trying to get that rhythm down right. Like when you breathe in, when you breathe out.
All right. The way the camera is situated, I don't know if you can see me well. All right. So let's say I'm doing a back squat or just, a squat. All right. And I've got my barbells, my dumbbell up here. Before I go down, I'm going to squeeze my glutes. So here's the crazy part. If I just take a normal breath in, what happens? My chest comes up, right? You see that? The chest comes up. You don't want that. Try to take a breath and only take it into your abdomen. You ever see people who are heavy weightlifters and they wear a weight belt? Do you know why they wear the weight belt? It's not to hold them in place or to brace their back at all. The purpose of the weight belt is that when you take a breath, you actually are pushing your abs against, you got something to push against. That's the purpose of the weight belt. So I'm up here. I'm going to take a breath, and you watch, my chest is not going to come up, but my stomach is going to come up. So you can look at it here. Hold on. See it pushed out? You see that? That's what you want. That's what's it's almost like a balloon, right? If you let your chest come up, then this part is still loose, loosey-goosey. And that is when you're going to engage your back. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Della, one more question about the deadlift. You don't keep your knees straight, do you? You bend your knees. I've seen some, they go down and their legs are straight.
And that is terrible. That is
that's
absolutely horrible technique and form. And that is a really good way to hurt your back.
Got you.
I know exactly what you're talking about is when people do this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I do this with no weights, I am feeling it in my back. I get that soreness in my lower back. Okay. Whereas if I go down, I'm going to hinge at the hip and look at my knees.
Got it.
Got it. And
yep.
When I come up, it's going to be the same thing. It's just reverse.
Got it.
Pushing the floor away.
Okay.
If you can do that, you will never engage your back. Your back will never be an issue.
Got it.
Okay.
All right, Dale, I just have a question about the breathing. So when you breathe in, your stomach is out. Do you hold your breath the whole time? The whole
time you're in the movement. So if you're doing a squat, right, you're going to go down and you're going to come up. When you come up is when you breathe out.
Okay, thank
Not during, okay? You got your breath held, you're going down, you don't let your breath go. Because if you let your breath go, everything becomes loose again.
Okay, thank you. It's clear.
So you hold your breath. All right. So let's move on to bench press. Again, you can do this with your cans or water bottles or anything like that. You don't have to have weights. I'm going to use some weights. And all right, so my feet are flat on the ground. If your bench is too high, get yourself some foam, some books or something, so that your feet can be flat on the ground. All right. Now you're going to be here. Try to get your elbows in, and what you want to do is grip the bar or grip the dumbbell very tight. You'll be amazed at how much control you can have if you simply grip it tight, right? And it also helps your arms, right? Okay, so I'm gonna be here, and then I'm going to roll my shoulders back and arch my back a little bit, and my feet is on the ground, and I'm gonna come straight up and then come straight down, full range of motion. None of this stuff, right? Because that doesn't do anything. Be in control. Up, down, up, down. Go ahead and touch your chest. My elbows are close to my body. They're not flailing out. And it's in control. It's not loosey-goosey. Okay? All right. The last thing is the curl. All right. What a lot of people will do, and I've seen people do this in the gym, like really big, muscular guys will do this. This is what they'll do. That's nothing is going on with that. Okay. What you want to make sure is you have full range of motion. All right. You can do what is called a hammer curl, which means it's like this, or you can do a regular curl where your palms turn out. You can do either one. So palms out, arms are completely straight. Same thing. Abs are tight, glutes tight. And I'm not going to swing it from momentum. I'm just going to bring it up at the top. Give it a little squeeze. Okay? Bring it down slowly. Don't swing it down. All right, so up, down, up, down. A little squeeze at the top. And if you look from the side, there's no swinging. And squeeze at the top. Okay. I think that was all the movements. Now, as far as a program, what I would do to start off, use whatever weight that you're comfortable with, one that you're not straining, and one that you can do 8 to 10 repetitions. And so you would have, say we do this program, you did overhead press, did back squats, deadlifts, bench press, and curls. Do 3 sets of 8. All right, so in between each exercise and each set, you can do it either way. You can go all the way through, right? Or you can finish out your 3 sets of each thing. But give yourself a minute or so, or 2 minutes of rest in between. What you should feel, you know, I'm breathing right now, right? Breathing kind of hard. Well, what you want it to be is challenging, but not overwhelming. Okay, and you only you know your body and know what you're able to do. Okay, so if you need to go down to 5 or 6 reps, then do that. Whatever weight you're comfortable with, but start out with 3 sets of however many reps you can do at however many pounds of weight that you can do. And it may be different. You may be able to use a 10-pound dumbbell for some things and only a 1-pound water bottle for other movements. And that's okay. But get yourself a program. And then what you want to do, if you want to make progress, right, is something called progressive overload. And what that means is, let's say you do something for 4 weeks, you know, whatever that program is you decide on. Your next 4 weeks, you're either going to up the weight or up the repetition, the reps, or up the number of sets. Okay, you can do any one of those things and you are making progress, right? You don't want to stand still, but give yourself 3 to 4 weeks at a particular level before you up something. Okay, don't push it too hard. Okay. I don't know how we're doing on time. We're okay?
I have
Yeah, I
another
think so.
question. Since you've been doing this weightlifting, have you noticed an improvement in your diabetes and your other health conditions?
Yeah, I didn't really I didn't talk about that at the beginning. I've completely reversed my diabetes. You know, diabetes is incurable. Okay, so what that means is you just have to control it. So my A1C at the beginning of all of that was almost 9. It was 8.9. My A1C right now is 5.7. Okay, but the biggest thing that, and I didn't get a chance to talk about that, is I do what is called a DEXA scan that measures a bunch of different things. But one of the things is bone density. And when I started this, well, actually a couple years after I started this, I took a DEXA scan, find out what my bone density is, because my mom had terrible osteoporosis. All right, she fell down several times, broke her hip several times, and I needed to know where I was in the baseline. And so it's a score that goes at the highest is a 4. The 4 is the maximum bone density, okay? Most people are around 2 something when they're young, all right? If you get below 0, like you get -1 or something, then you have osteoporosis. So when I first did this, I guess it was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, my bone density was 0.1. So I was getting really close to having osteoporosis. So this January, I took another DEXA scan. My bone density was a 3.2. I have the bone density now at age 64 of someone who is 20 years old. And that all came from weightlifting. When you do resistance training, what you're doing is you're telling your body, it's the same thing with the muscles, right? You're telling your body, this person is going to do this. I better make whatever it is that, whether it's muscle or whether it's bone or whatever, so that you can do it. Because you do it a few times and your body will evolve and accommodate that. But if you don't pressure your body to do something, you don't press it, it's not going to build it. It's just going to continue to lose. So that's why this session is called Building Strong Bones and Muscle, because that's exactly what resistance training is. Yeah, so that's been the biggest difference. I don't have cholesterol issues anymore. I'm off medication for that. I don't have any arthritis anymore. And I used to, when I get up in the morning, I had to rub my knees, 10 minutes, rub my hand, my elbows before I can get up out of the bed. So,
Do you have to have very high weights for that? Like, could you use 3-pound weights, say, and get that benefit? Or you have to use...
Absolutely. That's why I'm saying, even we were talking about my next session. I think we're supposed to do 2 as sponsored athletes, and I think for my next session, whenever that is, I want to do full just body weight, no weights at all. You can do a lot of things body weight, and there are modifications even for that. But the point is, start. Right? This is day 1. Just start. If it hadn't been, and I'm actually thankful that I had that medical crisis, because if not for that, I probably never would have started this journey. And what I'm saying is, don't let it get to that part, right? Don't wait till you have a medical crisis like I did before you take a step. If I had done this much earlier, you know, I don't know where I would be. Maybe I would be competing in powerlifting or something, but I'm happy where I am. I'm glad I started, and you can start at any weight or even no weight, just body weight.
Can I jump in with a question?
Sure.
I'm confused about the tightening of the abs. I've been told, just with different exercise classes, to pull inward with my muscles. So my belly goes in, like pulling my belly button toward my backbone. But you were mentioning the belly going out.
It's
Do I
going
need?
out. It's going out. I'll be
Okay,
right back. I'm going to grab my weight belt. I want to show you what I'm talking about.
great,
Okay?
because I have trouble with that with the back.
Okay. So this is my belt. And what I'm going to do, I want you to, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I'm going to take a breath without letting my chest come up. Okay, I'm going to take a breath and I'm pushing against the belt.
So I'm doing it just the opposite of what I'm doing. No wonder I'm having lower back pain.
There are some movements, not weightlifting movements, but there are some yoga movements where would you have to do what is called a hollow body. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not.
No, but it was a different system. So that's probably what was going on. I need to push different. I mean, I need to tighten different muscles for weightlifting than.
Right.
Okay, thank you. This helps so much because people say engage your core, but I've never really been taught
Understood what engaging the core is.
Yeah, so
Yeah. It really helps if you don't have to get a belt, but even if you just get like a regular belt, like, you know, that you wear with your pants, put it around. That way it gives you a cue, right? I'm pushing against that belt.
that's wonderful.
And that helps you practice that.
Great, thank you. This has been so helpful to have a more specific explanation than just engage your core. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Della, we have a few hands raised, so we're going to go to Elaine first in queue with her hand raised, and then we'll go to Kathleen and Sherry after that.
Thank you. This has been very motivational. So thank you. But you listed some program, you know, some series of exercises to start with, because I would be starting. Could you list what they are again and how many would be useful? I mean,
so there are, I just picked these for today.
Okay.
And these are very, very basic. There's so many other things, right? But I think if you're going to start and you've never done this before, you want to make sure whatever program you do, that you're going to work your hamstrings and your glutes. You want to do that. Right. You want to make sure that you work your upper body, your upper back, not your lower back. You never want to work that, but your upper back, which is your lats, and that's what the bench press is about. And also overhead presses is about. You're going to work the scalp and your arms. You just want to make sure you get a good variety and work the total body as a beginner. Now, as a normal weightlifting session, training session, normally what we do, we'll have leg day and we'll have upper body day. And nobody likes leg days, right? But if you're like me, I only go to the gym 3 times a week, and I go to the track on Saturday and I do sprint sessions. So I have to do full body every time I go. So these are, if you want to write them down, overhead press, back squat, or just squat, right? Any kind of way, squat, deadlifts, bench press, and arm curls. And this, and if you just start with this, like 2 or 3 sets of each with multiple reps, anywhere from 6 to 8 reps. All right, so you do 3 sets of those with whatever weight. If you want to just start with a 1-pound bottle, that's perfectly fine. That is going to get you started.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very impressive.
And then we'll go to Kathleen next. Kathleen, go ahead and unmute. There you go.
Hi, Della. I just wanted to add to what you said about, you know, the weightlifting, helping with bone density and building up the muscles. I was diagnosed with osteoporosis and I was -3.
Oh, wow.
in my lower back with risk for fracture. So I started CrossFit at the suggestion of my son also. And, 14 years later, I am no longer osteoporosis.
Isn't
So
that amazing?
it is.
If you push your body will give you what it needs.
Exactly. And I just want to impress upon people that if they continue with the weightlifting and do it progressively, but safely, eventually, yes, your muscles improve, but your bone density improves. That's the point I wanted to get across is my bone density is much better than, at age 55, when it all began. I got notified of the osteoporosis diagnosis, and now I'm 73.
Oh, wow. Good for you. Good for you.
So thank you for this. This has been awesome. I can relate to everything that you've talked about, and I learned a few things. So thank you.
Oh, great. I'm glad.
And then I think we have Sherry. You're up next with your question.
Thank you, Della. Great class. I do most of the ones that you had suggested. I do them at home, not in the gym. But my question is, what do you do weight-wise for your lower body? Those are free weights. They're great for, the arms and the upper body, but what do you do?
So there is a movement. I'm going to scoot back here and I'll show you what you can do for your quads.
Great.
And you could do it at home. There's a couple of movements. One of them is a hip thrust. So you're here. Okay, I'm going to sit here. And then I'm going to come down like this. See that? And I'm going to bring my hip all the way down and then bring it up hard. Okay, that's one.
That's interesting, Barry. I could do that if I had.
So that very awkward. Another one that you can do that mimics a leg extension is you have a lighter weight dumbbell, put it between your feet. See that? I'm going to bring it up and bring it down, bring it up, bring it down, bring it up. That's just like a leg extension machine.
Thank you. That's excellent.
Okay.
Don't need the weight
machine.
machine.
During the pandemic, the gyms closed, right? So for about a year, I set up all of my stuff in the living room. This is my kitchen, but all the stuff in the living room. And I did versions of everything with just dumbbells or bands, right?
Great. Colette, I see your hand raised, and we're almost out of time, so we'll go to Colette and Stephanie next.
Thank you. Della, your form is phenomenal. I love watching you. Thank you for the example.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
I think that it's always common to do 3 sets of 8 or 10 or 12, but I don't know why. I prefer doing 2 sets of 15. But from listening to you, I'm guessing that that's probably not good. Could you tell me why?
It's perfectly fine. It depends on what you're trying to do. So I do a rotating, what is called a cycle. And my cycle would be 6 to 8 weeks long.
Okay.
Some cycles are strength building. So on strength building ones, I will do less sets, less reps, right? I may do, for example, on a deadlift, if I'm on a strength session, strength cycle, I may do 2 sets of only 5 or 6 reps, but at very heavy weights.
I see.
If I am in, so that's building power and strength, just pure strength, right? If you want to build muscle, that's called a hypertrophy session. And that cycle is lots of sets, lots of reps with very little downtime, rest time in between those sets, but at high reps, but low weights. So in that same thing, if I was going to do that on a deadlift, I would do 4 sets or 5 sets at 10 or 12 reps, but at much lighter weight, at like, 70% or 80% of what I was doing on a strength. And what you want to do is when you really get into this, you want to cycle in and cycle out of strength versus muscle building hypertrophy.
Okay. All right.
Neither one is wrong. It depends on where you are and what you're trying to do in that cycle.
But you should do both cycles.
You should do both,
just,
but you don't do it at the same time.
no,
right?
yes.
So you would do one cycle for 5 or 6 weeks, and then switch to the other cycle for 5 or 6 weeks.
Okay, I've just always done the same thing. So, okay, I will work on that. Thank you very much.
And it seems like there were a lot of other questions about, how much weight training should you do in a week, how many reps, and so hopefully those everything that you said answered the questions from some of our other participants. I want to remind everybody also that this is being recorded and will be available on our Senior Planet channel, so you can review it later and see if those questions that we didn't get to in the chat room are answered with what was discussed. Stephanie,
I'd like to address that question. I think that a person, anybody, should do whatever it is they're going to be consistent with. So it's great if you can work out 5 times a week. You've got that kind of time and commitment and energy level. That's great. But if you can only do twice a week, whatever you're consistent with, that is what's going to get your results. Not comparing to what somebody or guru says, right? Because if you're not going to do it, or you're not going to be consistent with it, then it's not really going to do you a whole lot of good.
Awesome. And Stephanie, one last question. You've been patiently waiting, so go right ahead, unmute your microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
First, I want to thank you for a very informative and encouraging meeting. I was diagnosed with osteoporosis like about 9 months ago, a -2.7, and the endocrinologist was so adamant because I discussed weight-bearing exercises and diet. She said there's no way that anything can do it but Fosamax or Boniva, which have truly horrible side effects. So I started diet with magnesium, K2, calcium, and I started exercising. And I'm a little nervous about going for my next bone density scan because I have been doing exercises with Paul Eugene. There's a lot of nice videos on it. And I went to physical therapy to learn how to do some of them properly at the hospital special surgery. So I'm glad to hear that someone has actually proved the endocrinologist wrong. But if you ask an endocrinologist, they will tell you, no way, you could build bone. No. You may be able to maintain it.
Me and the other lady who talked about it, we both reversed it.
That's why I thought it was encouraging. So I'm very happy to hear that. Very happy.
Right.
And also, may I tell everybody's knowledge, there's 2 types of bone density tests. There's the Dexter, and then there's the TBS, the trabecular bone score, which will not only tell you your density, but the architecture of your bones. They don't do it on many machines. You have to really search a machine that does it, because sometimes your density may be not good, but your architecture may compensate for it. So thank you.
Okay, well, that's a good thing to know. Thank you.
Just very quickly, could I just say, listen to your body. By doing yoga, by doing exercises, some of the things that you were talking about, I have been doing that. You have to take care of, I only have one body. My mommy made me once. She's not going to do me again. So I got to take care of the body I have. Thank you for your wisdom.
Osteoporosis exercise, is it better to do strength building or build muscle to help osteoporosis?
It's all together.
Okay.
You can't separate that. You have to have, first of all, you got to do weight bearing exercise in order to build your bone. And in order to do weight bearing exercise, you actually have to build muscle.
So to do both, build muscle and strength together. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Let's give Della a big thank you. This was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we look forward to having you come back again. That
Della,
was-
you look marvelous, by the way.
Yes,
Oh,
she
thank
does.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. That was cool.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you so
Good
much.
meeting